Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Mordechai, welcome. You come over here. I saved you the seat right over here. Openun. Here we go. Let's do it again. Here we go. This is much better. This is Elio Klein, I think his name is.
Good morning, Rabbi Isai. There was a story. This great Talmid Chacham, great Talmid Chacham. Last semester, anyhow, there was a story of a yid who went to this village who met this farmer.
I don't know. We don't hear what they're saying, so we're going to go weiter. This email is written in Hebrew. It's translated, but I liked it a lot. I think we could learn from this a lot of stuff. Dear Belly, there's a well-known vart about Yisroi. What merit did he have that his advice was recorded in the parsha was named after him in the Torah? After all, his advice seems fairly simple. The answer gives that Yisroi's greatness lies in this. Many people can identify problems, but only a few can also offer solutions to fix them. I remember this because I was about to write an email about something that bothered me slightly during this year, but then I felt it wasn't right to send such an email before first sending one of gratitude and appreciation for everything that I've learned thanks to you from you. So first, I want to thank you for the 73 dafim I learned with you from Bava Basra daf Ayin Ches, starting from the night we met in Slonim, Belarus. Listen to this. In Belarus, when we parted that evening, you asked me if I was learning the daf. When I said no, you said you should. It's life-changing. And you were right. Without repeating everything others surely said, which is undoubtedly true, the point where I personally felt the change was when I realized that even though I thought, this is mamish givaldik for you. Listen to this, mamish. Takish from Hashem. To the point where I personally felt that the change was, even though I thought I had no time to add another hour of learning each day, it all came down to priorities. What are you willing to give up for the daf? I'm deeply grateful for your dedication, the personal exam you set with your enthusiasm, enjoying learning the Holy Torah. So, to me, this gave me a lot of chizuk. Here's a person I met in passing in Slonim, Belarus. I said, do you do the daf? No, why not? It'll change your life. Shalom, I kept on moving. And 73 days later, he's still doing the daf every single day, and he says that he realized he has extra time in the day. Now, I'm going to get his email, the reason why he sent it. I'm afraid this is getting too long, you might not read it, so I'll keep it short. Regarding what bothered me personally, and I apologize in advance if this sounds disrespectful, on Daf Kuf Nun Aleph, the Gemara tells a story about Rav Chadvoi Bar Masna, who sought an inheritance from his sister so people wouldn't say he isn't the Rav, right? He took all the Yerusha from his brother. He says, people are going to say, he's Chashiv, I'm not Chashiv, give it to me, so they don't say I'm not Chashiv. While listening to this shir, it sounded a bit like the interpretation was that he's seeking honor and money like any of us might, and just found a good excuse. I don't know the exact explanation, but since the Gemara calls him Rav, even if he sought honor and money, we can assume that someone in the Gemara calls Rav truly earned that title. I've attached a recording to the relevant part. Kitzer, he felt that I didn't give him enough covet. I was slighting him. So if that's the case, I definitely take it back. P.S. About the evening we met in Slonim, that deserves a separate email, but I'll just briefly say that it made a strong impression on all the students there. It really connected them to the idea that Judaism and Torah are something grand, global, alive, and relevant, something vibrant and pulsating all over the world. More than that, Hashem willing, another time. I don't know if you'll read this email out, but based on experience, if I write not to mention my name, you'll definitely read it aloud. If I don't say anything, it's uncertain. And Suffolk doesn't override a vada, so I won't say anything. With great respect and sincerity, Nehemiah Kushner, Belarus. We only do names. This is a big zechus to have the trifecta right over here. All three of them, every week was a different story. You were in Dubai, Mamish, a few days before this whole thing. You were in America. I don't know where you were.
When?
I don't know.
Every day, what are you talking about?
But a week ago you weren't. Rabbi said yesterday I read an unbelievable email about a guy.
I'm here all the time.
This is also.
I don't know what you're talking about. Are you here?
Not as much as you, I guess. There's a guy that wrote a beautiful email yesterday, also very moving, that he started to doing the daf 3 years ago, and he was makabel on himself never to miss a Ma'ariv b'minyan, no matter what. Right? I read this yesterday, but I didn't get his daughter. He said he had this thing, his daughter's. So here it is. I thought it was very cute. She's 8 years old, waiting for this whole year. Let's celebrate a day just for you, the presents. But I love more when I see my awesome dad going on a higher. Hire. He's going higher. He's going higher. Higher and higher. HIR level. My awesome dad going on a higher level. Hashem should be so proud because my father's growing up like he should be because he's awesome. Anyway. Dear Belly, as I was running a half marathon today alongside over 1,000 people, says Gershon Rose, I was grateful to have the opportunity to listen to 2 shiurim, Chazar, during the race, indeed. I can genuinely attribute my continued commitment to running. So we have a guy that found extra time. We have a guy that's doing Meir. We have a guy that's running and learning Torah at the same time. Why? I can genuinely attribute my continued commitment to running and maintaining my health. I love to take, this is the first time I ever took credit for something like this. Maintain my health to the encouragement a few months ago to incorporate learning into exercise. It's gewaldig. You could learn and do exercise at the same time. This year, I'll repeat again. You go on the treadmill at 6 miles an hour, 6 kilometers an hour, 6, 7. You don't have to go very fast, and you can learn. It's geschmack. Do 2 things at the same time. This year not only enrich my learning, but also make the runs much more purposeful and fulfilling. Regarding the question of what sign language Rav and Rav Nachman exchanged, may I humbly share a thought that came to my mind. One possibility is that Rav said in Shir, we can't suggest Rav Nachman indicated that we could. The kids is something like that with the warm regards, Gershon Rose. Check this out. This is Refuah Shleimah Miller's son, I believe, the one that was just nifter last week. So
1, 2, 3. I know the answer to your question more, but talking about a case where the sick person is saying that the position acquired was need to enhance and not replace.
I don't know. He's trying to say that what he thinks the simon is that Rav Nachman did in sign language. Okay.
This was when you I remember now. I remember. I got some sleep, so now I remember. It was this. He was bringing it in, top his hands top inward, where the king is bringing it inward.
That's miyabek koicha, bringing inward. Okay. The Masech responsible for the Tzvi Spero return of all the hostages, Parnassa B'revach and Refuah and Yosef. Oops. Parnassa B'revach, Kidnovations LLC in honor of my uncle Rebbitzen Pressman and Fishel. It should be a zechus for Akiva Simcha Ben Fayga, shidduch for Yehudit Chaya, and thank you to Rebbitzen Stefansky. It should be a zechus for a year filled with Mazel, Bracha, hatzlacha, Parnassa B'revach and Refuah. Amen. Parnassa B'revach, Yosef ben Chaya, Sara for Parnassa B'revach. Amen. Parnassa B'revach, Tzvi Spero, Refuah Shleimah, Itamar ben Chai Blima. Amen. Parnassa B'revach, Refuah Nefesh and go for Breina Bina bat Mirim Bela or a Bracha bat Breina Bina Netanel Kalev ben or a Bracha. Parnassa B'revach, Refuah Shleimah for Yosef Chaim Shmuel ben Altan from his grateful family. Parnassa B'revach in honor of Rebelli from Naftali Kraus at Blackbird Recruiting. Parnassa Yoim Alan Dana. Lili Nishmas, Rav Tzvi ben Alexander Akoyan Hashem Yimkum Damoy. What was his last name? Kagan? Kogan? How do you spell Kogan in Hebrew? Or Kuf Gimel Nun, which is our daf today. Chabad MDY, yeah, Kagan. Kuf Gimel Nun. Chabad MDY, in loving memory of HaKadosh, Rav Tzvi ben Alexander Akoyan Hashem Yimkum Damoy, the Rebbe's shliach to the UAE. He went there to do chesed for Klal Yisrael, and he was killed at Kiddush Hashem. Paras Hayoim, Avrumi Leibovitz, Mazel Tov to my son Shmili on the bris of his baby son Yisrael. Looking forward to seeing you and Nachman at the Shabbaton. Now you could say,
good morning, Avrami.
Good morning, Avrami, because for years he used to say every day, good morning, Avrami. And I used to tell him, Nachman, there's other people watching on YouTube. He says, nobody's watching it, nobody will ever watch it, don't worry, it's only Avrami. Out of the month for a zechus for a belly in the whole MDY staff to continue to make Torah so enjoyable so many. Hi Rebelli on Daf Kuf Nun Amud Beis on minute 43. This sentence was skipped, and I got a few emails. Shapsi Cohen said that nobody could go on the cruise because we didn't finish Shas if we don't say these words. You skip two. Usually Rav Nachman Seltzer, again another. Rav Nachman Seltzer notices this. Maybe he wasn't there that day, Rav Nachman Seltzer. Tzvi, you weren't there, you see? But this is the second time that I noticed when he's not there, no one noticed. Oh, it says before us, you were not there. Wow, okay. Now listen, whoever's editing today should go back to Kufnun and see if Rav Nachman wasn't there. And when he tells me he's there every day, put that shot in. Oh, be wow, be Givaldi. No, it's not Shapsi.
What was it?
Somebody else wrote this email. Shapsi wrote another email about me missing this thing. Okay. But it's only 3 days ago. You should remember if you were there or not.
I went away for Shabbos.
Maybe it's Motzi Shabbos. Oh, Friday.
Friday wasn't it? Went away for Shabbos.
Okay, so that's what I said.
Right.
Okay. So now I get more.
What?
My thing goes up now when we argue.
No, we don't understand.
It's not.
They went away for weeks. I was missing one day.
Okay, that's what I meant. I said to have a trifecta. They finally came here on Friday, and you weren't here, so that's why I made a whole thing out of it. It's the first time that we have 3. Oh. Daf Kufnun Gimel Rabbi. So here we go. I do want to remind the Olam, first of all, Shamshi told me he put in a status. Shamshi Shlafrak. He put in a status that we're starting a new Masechta in less than 25 days. And he got one person to join, just from putting the status already. I want to remind the Olam when starting Sanhedrin, time to put it in your status. And if you have a Gevaldic story, something that will inspire other people, so the famous Ari Chaimowitz, who did that unbelievable podcast of What a Day, I think it's called, of MDY. He's going to be in Muncie tomorrow night. He already interviewed a bunch of people here in Eretz Yisrael, including that guy that said he's 64 and a half years old, Jeffrey Rubin, who came. He looks like a yeshivish guy. He has 3 sons in Koilel, the whole thing. He hasn't learned in 64 years. He started learning 144 days ago, and now it's already 155 days. So he interviewed him. If you have a Gevaldik Mice, especially if you're a Rebbe, a Koilel guy, we're looking for some. We have a lot of shaved guys with Balavatim. We want some. If you're a Rosh Hashiva, please come forward. All right, we're holding by Kufnum Gimel Amud Aleph. Avi, doctor, you have a little extra on. You have? Hey, Avi. We'll hook you up after shir because you can't go around. It's not going well. But thanks. Ahi matanta. You're making a chilul MDY here. We have new guests here, and they don't know what's flying. Ahi matanta. Okay, so now we're holding in a sugya of shchivmera. The way it works is if a person is dying, all he has to do is say a few words. He says, I want to give all my belongings to so-and-so. And it works. It works in 2 ways. First of all, it's a matna shchimera where it takes effect after the person dies. So the person giving it gets to use it all the way until he dies. Also, when he gives it, he can take it back. It's a special halacha about a shchimera. Since he's giving it because he's dying, he has in mind he's dying, and all of a sudden he has a nace, he's healed, he gets it back, he can retract. So says the Gemara, what do we do? Ahi matanta. So I'll remind the Olam. Yesterday I started off the shir asking a question. If somebody knows of a shchimera in the hospital, and the guy calls in there and says, listen, I want to give you all my belongings. I have $30 million, I want to give it to you all. What's the trick to make sure that the guy cannot retract? There's a trick. What do you do? Says Zushi. What you guys just listen to the bacher. You keep one little piece. You keep one little thing. If you keep one thing, then the guy can't retract. That's not a matna shchimera. What's the way to overcome that if the person is a shchimera and he leaves a piece? What's the way to to undo that. He says because I'm dying, I'm giving. So once he uses the word dying, it doesn't matter how much he gives. It doesn't matter if there's a kinyan, if there's no kinyan. Mentioning the word dying, he explains why he's giving it. Now he could retract forever. So says the Gemara, 5 lines down from Kufnu Gimel Amud Aleph. Ahi matanto da v'kosav bo b'chayim u'b'mavis. Says in the shtar, it says there was a kinyan here and it was a miktsas. So step number 1 was only partial. Partial is very good for the receiver because the giver cannot take it back. There was also a kinyan. And when there's a kinyan, it's like a matnas bari. It becomes like a guy that's healthy who's giving a gift and he gives it with a kinyan to lift it up. You cannot retract. You can't get it back. But there's a problem. He mentioned the word death. Once he mentioned the word death, so he's saying specifically, he's saying, I'm not giving it because I'm giving it a matnas bari. I'm giving a matnas chimera. I'm dying. But the other issue is that there's a counter word here, b'chaim. He says life. So what is he talking about? Is it life or is it death? Does he want to give it today or he wants to give it after he dies? Is it a matnas bari or a matnas chimera? That's the Gemara's question. So we have machlokes Rav and Shmuel. One says, let's grab the word chaim, that's the ikar, and death means nothing. And one says, let's grab the word death, and chaim is nothing. So first of all, this is the lashon he used. Matana zu ani makne lecha b'chaim u'b'mavis. This is the lashon that Rishbam brings down. This is the lashon. I'm giving you that b'chaim u'b'mavis. It's like a contradiction. Now, here's the 2 things. A matnas bari. He's nice, healthy, and strong. He gives a gift. It works right away. You can look at the screen if you want. You don't have to. If you're new here, you don't know about the screen. Don't worry about the moving object. Oh, we forgot to stop the moving objects. So the matnas bari happens right away, and you cannot retract. A matnas chivmera is the exact opposite. It happens after he dies, and he can retract all day long. So now, when he says these words, b'chaim u'b'maves, Rav Omar, there was a guy who was buried, and as soon as they were walking away from the caver, they saw that the earth was moving. So they undug the grave, and he pops out. They realized that he was just a little unconscious, and he woke up under the ground. So somebody asked him, he said, how do you know that you were alive? Maybe you were in Gan Eden. Maybe you were like in heaven. Like, how do you realize when you wake up? And you see, he says, because I was very hungry, and my feet were very cold. I realized if I'm hungry, I can't be in Gan Eden. Nobody's hungry in Gan Eden. But my feet were very cold, so I couldn't have been in Gehenim. So I realized I was alive. Sometimes you don't know. If you're here or there, Rav Omar Harei Kimat Neshchimera. Ushmuel Omar Harei Kimat Nesbari. Matnas Chivmera means that you could retract. Shmuel says no, it's a matnas bari, you can't retract. Rav Omar Harei Kimat Neshchimera Midchsiv Bo B'Mavis. It says death. Death means I want it to be chal when I die. That's what he wanted after the death. So we have to understand, why does it say b'chaim? The answer is Simen ba'almo the Chaya. He wanted to say Be'ezer Hashem, Ploini should live a long life. Chas v'sholom, he's not going to die. A lot of people, when they get sick, they add the name Chaim. Chaim is like one of the most popular G'dolim names. If you look at history, there's a lot of Chaims that became G'dolim.
Chavis Chaim.
So, when you went to Reb Chaim Kanievsky, one name he really disliked a lot is Shira. Shira, you had to change immediately to Sara. Shin, you say it's not a name, it's not in the Torah. So they said, I just heard this ma'aseh. They said a guy with the name Erez went to Baal Tshuva, comes to Reb Chaim Kanievsky. He says, Erez is not a name, it's not in the Torah. He says, Erez is in the Torah. He says, no, but it's not a name in the Torah. Erez Balvani Yizgil, whatever, but it's not a name in the Torah. Okay. So he went to the Belzerov. The Belzerov said, tell Reb Chaim Kanievsky, the Chaim is also not in the Torah as a name. Right. So he has to do Shinei Hashem according to the Belzerov. Okay. So says the Gemara, Ushmuel Amar Harei Kimatnas Bari. No, we grab the first word, B'chaim. Midachsiv Ba B'chaim, B'chaim Gavar. You have two words. You have Chaim Yamavis. He meant I want to give it as a healthy person when I'm alive, and I cannot retract. So why did he add that extra word Ubamavis? It's as if he's saying, I want this gift to last forever. No retraction. Ubamavis. It should last for Lachar Mei V'Esrim also. It should keep on going. So saying it goes, the halacha is like Rav, that it's a matnas chivra, and a matnas chivra only happens after death, and he can retract. Amarava, v'ksivbo mechayim kana. So take a look at this. Oops. This is what he wrote. Take a look over here. Look at this. It's bachayim. But, says Rava, if he says, Mechayim, Bachayim is in life. Mechayim is from life. In other words, he's saying, from now, I want to be maknet. Then Kana. Then it's a matnas bari. Mechayim from the point of my life. So I'm giving it to you when I'm alive. I cannot retract. We don't pass in like Rava. We just said in Nardo we passing like Rav. The halacha is it's a matnas chimera, not a matnas bari. So what is Rava saying? What are you adding that the halacha is not like Rava, that it's not a matnas bari? Of course, we said the halacha is it's a matnas chimera. So the Gemara is very simple. I'm thinking all of you are thinking this. There's a big difference of bachayim and mechayim. Rava was talking about a different case that he said mechayim with a mem, not a beis. May means, it seems like a little bit more from now. Not in, not bi, not inside life, but from life. In other words, I want it to start from today. Maybe Rav would agree to such a case that's a matnas bari, and you can't retract. Komash malon, you could retract. Just thinking this Mazel with the Yankel Miller, his mother was nifter, so he's sitting Shiva in Muncie. So one of the Rebbitzen in Muncie said, I can't come to Menachem Aval. It's too much litzanas. You have to be serious. So he said, no. This is mamish. This is serious. There's no jokes. There's no litzanas over here. Come. So the Rebbe shows up, and the Rebbe sits down. He says, "No, what happened? She had the machla." So he says, "Where did she have the machla?" So he says, "Here in Muncie." Start off. 30 seconds. It's already with the litzanas. Some people, I guess, can't help it. Zog the Gemara. Ahud also l'kaved Rav Nachman. This story, mamish. This story here. Let's see. This one, where this story. It came to Rav Nachman l'Nhardo. Comes in Nardo. Shadril Kamed Reb Yirmir ba'Abba l'Shum Tamyo. So, just as l'Saber Sarinaim, this is our little map of Nardo. Nardo is up there, and who's the Rav in Nardo? Shmuel. Mechoiza is Rav. So, I looked it up. The best I could come up with is that Shum Tamyo is next to Sura. So I threw it in there. Somewhere in there, okay? It could be on the other side, I have no idea. Just l'Saber is... So the Rosh Hashiva in Shum Tamya was Reb Yirmir bar Abba. That's what it said in the Sefer. Maybe you got it from this Gemara here. So Rav Nachman says, listen, I can't help you right now with this. You have an interesting lashon. It says death, life. I don't know what to do with this right now. I know what to do, but I'll give you a good eitzah. Don't ask me. I'm not going to pass you right now. Take this star, go to another place called Shum Tamya. Why? Omar, Hocha Asr the Shmuel. Look, it even says in the map, Narda is Shmuel's place. Rav Nachman was in Narda. It's not nice for me to paskin against Shmuel. The halacha is like Rav. I advise you, drive down a little bit towards Sura, and over there you'll find the rabbi that will paskin like the halacha is like Rav. Omar, it's not appropriate, even though the halakha is like Rav, I can't pass like Rav in Shmuel's place. Now this is Gevaldik Amaisa. There's a woman who came to Rava with this lashon. What's the lashon? It says in the shtar, in the daitiki, in the tzava of the Shchimra, it says two lashonos. It says Chaim B'Maves. What do? She comes to Rava. Ovad lo Rava Kishmaite. You remember Rava Paskin that if it says Michayim, then it's a matnas bari. Matnas bari. You can't retract. Have a katar delay. So she made him a sugar. She said, no, you can't paskin like that. The law is not like that. Turns out that this woman, her husband did the daf every day, and she overheard the daf. She knew how to learn on a very high level. And she wasn't stam being matrid Rava. She knew what she was talking about. And she kept on telling Rava, you're wrong. And she's right. He was wrong. Omar Papa Bereder of Chonon Safrei. Omar Lei Lirav Papa Bereder of Chonon Safrei. Rava tells Rav Papa, his sofer, the one who writes, Zilk Soivla, I want you to write a fake document to get her off my back. She's making me crazy. She doesn't stop. She keeps on saying that the halacha is that it's a madnas shchimera, and I can retract. Why are you telling me I can't retract? Write in the shtar that she could retract. Now there's a famous ma'isa. I looked it up. It's interesting. It's unbelievable. Almost every good story, I'm not exact. Every story I look in the Oitzer Chachma, I remember the story was about the chidduch. But could be I'm wrong. It happened with this Rebbe, But Kitzer, I'm going to say it happened with the chidduch. There was a guy that literally put a gun to Rav's head and said, I want you to give me a hechsher for this cheese. So the Rav had no choice. He literally physically forced him to write him askama. So he wrote this cheese. First he wrote on the top, Yoim Shlishi leParshas v'kocha soichlu oisoi masnechem chagurim. The Parshas v'kocha soichlu oisoi. This is normal. Every Rav writes from the Parsha on top. He wrote this cheese is 100% kosher, v'yasher, stempel. So this guy takes the cheese and he takes the letter to the chidduch. And the chidduch looks at the letter, he says, very nice, let me take a look at the cheese. The cheese is treif. You can't sell it. He says, yeah, but it has the hechsher. He says, I don't care about the hechsher. Cheese is treif, get it out of here. What happened? Because the Targum says, Amasnechem chagurim, it says a lashon of chartzeichon yehoy nasirin. Yehoy nasirin, it should be aser. The chidduch realized right away that was the hint. In the shtar, in the document itself, it says that this is Yehoy Nasurin. It says Kochal Soichlu Ois. It's mamish, a lashon of you could eat it, but Asirin, it's aser. So that's what Rava decided to do. Let's do a little trick. We'll write in the shtar that this is a good shtar. She could retract, but in the bottom she doesn't know how to learn. Big mistake. She does know how to learn. We'll write on the bottom. And right on the bottom, soicher alein oy maton. We learned in Bamitzia, Fursha Mishnah, if you hire workers, they tell you they're going to come, and they decide to back out on you, and you're going to have a loss, you can trick them. You tell them, I'll pay you $200 an hour. They come to work, and at the end, you give them a big fife. You say, no, you already promised me you're going to work for 50 shekel an hour. You're causing me a great loss here, so I lied to you. You're allowed to do that. Soicher alein. Or you get another worker to do the job and they have to pay for it. If you don't pass him based on this. Look up that halacha over there, but that's the general idea. If it's a solid agreement and they cause you a loss. So Mazel, you're going to write these 4 words on the bottom. Soicher alein oy maton. Any Talmid Chacham that reads this realizes what is this doing in this document? This is halacha in Bava Basra about workers. What does workers have to do with the shchimra? Maton. Oh, there's a little bit of a trickery going on over here. Now I get it. What it means is, don't pay attention to this document. Amra, without hesitation, she says, Litaba arbe. Your boat should sink. Rava, you should die. Why? Atuyi kematisli. You think you're going to fool me? Who do you think this is? It's so obvious what you did here. I read what you wrote here. She mamish knew how to learn. So here's the question. When somebody curses you, do you have to be concerned about the curse? So you say yes. Huh? Kilo Asedio, what does it say this? Altia Kilos Kalabena.
Altia Birkus.
Yeah, I know. I don't know.
But yes, you have to be concerned. Yes. You gotta because you gotta ask for Chila.
So,
Sara. I would say curse war because it's given to Lev Molly.
So the Rashbam Mamish brings this lashon. So the question is, does it Mamish work or not? Seems like the Rashbam holds it works. The Chinuch says that the Zisa Deraisa, right? The Zisa Deraisa is the curse. Because the Chinuch says that the curse actually has an effect on a person. So Akash Baruch Hu doesn't want you to do that to somebody. The Rambam seems to say it doesn't have an effect, does not. The problem is you, personally, not the person that you're cursing, but the person making the curse, giving the curse. You're belittling yourself, you're putting yourself down, you're using anger, you're using nikama, that's something you shouldn't do. That's what the Torah is warning you about. But they ask on the Rambam from this sugi right over here. Why? Because the Gemara continues, Amshinu lemone de Rava b'maya. So Rava's Talmidim, they took his clothing and they sunk it in water that it should be like a simon. This is what's going to drown. And the Gemara says, Vafilu ha'achi. Even though they try to get out of the curse, lo yiprak mitiva. He wasn't able to get out of it. One of the ships he was on actually sunk in his life. He didn't die, but it sunk. We had here, just remember now, Noam's mechutin, in other words, Noam's son, Aaron, his bchar, married a girl who was on a little vessel with her parents that went down in the Kinneret, and they were sitting there for I don't know how long, an hour, 2 hours before they were saved. They literally thought that the mother had to swim away not to see her daughter, who's now Noam's daughter-in-law, with two grandchildren, Baruch Hashem. She thought she's going to watch her die, and she swam away. They got burned from the fuel, the whole thing. A motorboat went down, and we're here in the Kinneret. So Rava went through a situation like that because of this curse of this woman. The Rebbe Nachum Mendel Fenster told me yesterday that there's a Gemara in Ma'ikot Daf Chofei that says that every time Rava would cross a river, one of the Talmidim would say a bracha for him. So he asked, why Dafka Rava? You don't see this by Abai, you don't see it by anyone. This is based on this Gemara over here. When you have the whole Shas and one, based on this Gemara, he had a curse that he should drown, so he had a Talmud standing there every time he crossed the water since that lady cursed him, boop, he had to say a bracha. I mean, after he says it, it's pashut. It makes a lot of sense, but nobody says it over there. Nobody does. So, Gemara Ma'ikatan, you learn it and you go right there. Nobody says, "Oh, Ayin Daf Kufnun Gimel and Bava Basra."
We had any problems.
Oh, what?
Dream interpreter.
With Rava, yeah.
For Rava, a miracle was going to happen for him, and he was getting on a boat, and Rava was on that boat. He said, "A miracle's going to happen for him. I don't want to be on this boat."
Right. He lost his wife. He lost his this. What was the guy's name again? That famous dreamer? Barhedia? No. It was Barhedia. He destroyed his life.
Yeah, because
he wouldn't pay money. Abai did, and he didn't. Yeah.
The point is,
But he said it was part of the thing.
Now, but Rava was going to be saved anyway.
Right. Very nice. Oh, you're saying Moed Katan is small change for you. You're going all the way back to Brachas. You're tying in Brachas to Bava Basra. Givaldik. Zog the Heilige Gemara. The Mishnah. I just like this. This is cute. It's not so funny, but it's cute. There's a Maisa Chaya. The American Navy, they were traveling, with the aircraft carrier, the whole thing, and all of a sudden somebody gets on the radio and says, "American Navy, please immediately take a right, 15 degrees to the right." So the captain of the ship says, "Excuse me, you take 15 degrees to the left." He says, "No, we're asking you to immediately take a right." He says, "Do you know who you're talking to? This is the American Navy. We have a whole fleet here of 6 ships, the whole thing." He says, "Do you know who you're talking to? We're a small island next to Brazil. You better move quickly before you get..." Says the Eli Mishnah, Ma'aseh Chaya. Like Chasa b'shchiv mera. What if a guy gives all his belongings to somebody, but he doesn't write in the document that he's a shchimera? Now he wants it all back. He says, I want to use this as the famous shchimera. I want to be able to retract. So there's a classic Gemara where somebody says this and the other person says that, who has to bring a raya. Perhaps there's a little bit of chazaka, not a big sugi here, just the basics. They have a document that says everything is theirs. That he was sick. It doesn't say anything about sick. Nobody mentioned anything about sick. You want to come now and claim you admit that you wrote this document, so you prove it. The Meir says it doesn't make any sense. They have a good document, and that's it. So says the Gemara. It says the Mishnah. Boy, time out. Where is this land? Where is this apartment that he gave away? It's in his possession. And you, the one carrying the document, want to take the apartment out of him? You're the moitzi. You bring a raya that he was not a shchimra. He's saying he's a shchimra. So now it's up to you to prove it. But but we have a machlokes now what the shtar meant. You're right. But he's the machzik. It says you could have it, but he's saying the situation is like this.
You can say whatever you want.
He gave the star in the hospital room.
No, he gave it in the hospital room. That might be a good right. That is a shchimera. I hear. Zog the Gemara. There was a gift, a shchimera's gift. When I was sick and sleeping in the bed. Oh, you could tie this Maisa into the Maisa before. There was a captain of a ship. Somebody asked him, how did your father die? He said, at sea. And how did your grandfather die? At sea. And how did your great-grandfather die? At sea. So I don't understand. How are you not scared to be a captain of a ship? So he said, let me ask you, how did your father die? In bed. And how did your grandfather die? In bed. So how come you're not scared to be in bed? Can I have a kotzer v'rom embarrassing? He's sick in bed. Sick, kotzer, chayla, he's about to die. Like sivba, umegoy mare, ipate lebeis olamim. Givaldik alashim, beis olamim. What's beis olamim? The house of foreverness. We have a little house over here that we're very busy with. But Lamaisa, there's a house that's lo'olam, forever, for hundreds of millions of years is just a guzma, like much more than that. It's forever. So it says, Migoy Mare. It doesn't say. So the Rashbam says something very interesting. Maybe a little bit of a chiddush to us. There's something called a daitiki. You write as you're in the hospital, you write, I'm giving this over to so-and-so. But after the person goes on to the next world, you write another document and you say, in fact, this guy died and therefore the belongings go to Reuven. What does that mean? That you're saying that he never became healthy and he didn't retract. Because a shchimera could retract and a shchimera could become healthy. And if he becomes healthy, it's over. If he retracts, it's over. So we don't have this document that says what happened. All we have is, we know that he was sick in the hospital. So think about it for a second. We know that in January, he was in the hospital, he was sick, he gave it away. Today it's November. Today, there's an akamas matzeva in the cemetery for this individual. But there's 11 months in between. What happened over here? What happened from here to there? It's murder. It's the best cemetery ever. This is the best cemetery. It was the best death, actually, that happened in the best cemetery. What happened in between? What happened in between? I love that guy. Somebody just sent me yesterday. One of the left asked him a question. He looks at her. He says,
"What a stupid question!" But I watch you a lot. You ask a lot of stupid questions.
Okay, Daf Yomi Amud Beis. Oh, sponsored. Turning to the Daf for Cheshvan, Berkovici family, zechus klal Yisrael, and Glenn Esterson, dedicated to Gilad Jacob Israel. Thank you for bringing the Daf into my life, Baruch Hashem. So, Omer Rav, don't get excited. It's mamish a short Daf over here, short Amud. Says Rabbi, what do you mean? The guy was in the hospital in January. He dies in November. Or Tishrei and Nisan, whatever you want to call it. Amar Rabba, Harei Meis, Varei Kibri Mechil Chalav. Says Rabba, we have a chazaka. And this is a beautiful sugya. Rabbi Yisai, when you say a chazaka, do you take the chazaka from what we know back then in January and we just keep on moving it forward all the way till whatever? Or do we take the chazaka, what we have today? Today he's dead. Now you go backwards and say he was always sick and dead. It's a good shaila. You hear? Do you say, you take what you have today and you go backwards? Or you say, let's take what we know. We know that this property was Ruvain's before he got sick, and it remains Ruvain's. He has a chazaka that says, Rabbi is saying, let's look at today. Today, he's in a grave. So now we take what we know today. It's worse than being sick. He's in a grave. Let's take this backwards. He was sick forever. There was no point in time where he healed. Because if in fact he healed, we have a big problem. Maybe he retracted. So Abaye was brought up by Rabbi. So he asks Rabbi, his Rebbe, he asks him, Hashto, it's an interesting question that he asks him. The Titanic went down. 1,500 people died. 700 people survived. Approximately, right? 15 something and 705. Only a third survived. So most of the time when a ship goes down, most of the people die. So how do we view, if somebody's on the ship and he's married, how do we view? Do we know aguna, not aguna? Do we go by roiv, not roiv? The Rishbam goes into truma. Is the wife allowed to eat truma or not? So let's say she was a Yisraelis who married a Kohen. She's allowed to eat truma. If they don't have any children, as long as he's alive, she eats truma. Once he dies, she's not allowed to eat truma anymore. She goes back to her father's house, she doesn't eat truma. The reverse, she's a Kohenes. She married a Yisrael. She's not allowed to eat truma anymore. Once her husband dies, she's allowed to eat truma again. So what? If no children. So, question, her husband's on this ship. If her husband was a Kohen and she was eating truma because of him, now he's on the ship and if the ship goes down, we have to assume he died. Most of the people died. 1,500 people died. He's one of those people. So she cannot eat truma. If her husband was a Yisrael and she was eating truma beforehand, now we have to assume that her husband is alive. Her husband is alive, and Memela, she cannot eat truma because her husband is Yisrael and she's married to Yisrael and she cannot eat truma. So says the Gemara, most of the people die. When it comes to truma, I'm sure there's other chumras about getting married, not getting married, but Rishbam says we have to assume that he's alive. Chumrei chayim, let's be machmer that the guy is alive. He's alive. Maybe he's alive. We have to say maybe, even though it's the miut, maybe he's alive. So what about in our case? He takes this logic. Choylin. Shirov choylin l'chayim. Most people, when they get sick, says the Gemara, they heal. Like Kolchkein, so certainly we should be machmer and say that he's alive. So Memela, in our case, where the guy in January said, I want to give all my nechasim to Pliny. Then we find out that he died in November. Let's say that, yes, roiv people are healed. Just like you don't allow this woman to eat truma because maybe her husband is alive. Maybe this guy was healed in between. Yes, he died in November from something else. But he was healed in the middle. Why not? Why not say healed in the middle? What?
Suffix whether he healed or not, and even if he healed, the suffix was whether he was chayzer or not chayzer on his matana.
You're saying that if he was healed, no. I think that once he heals, it's over. It's automatic.
It's not a suffix.
Mm-hmm. So says the Gemara. Very interesting. This is negea lahalacha today. This shaila is negea lahalacha to kohanim. Can a kohen walk into a hospital? Do we have to be concerned that there's people in the hospital that die? So all the achronim talk about it. Moshe Sternbuch talks about it. He goes into, depends what kind of hospital. You go into hospital for special surgery, nobody's dying there. There's people go in for broken bones and they come out. So that's not a shaila. You go to a hospital that, Loyal Leno, all they deal with is people that are dying. So then, I don't want to go into names. There's hospitals, a lot of dead people. So then there's a chazaka that they're not going to make it. Rav Moshe Feinstein talks about, what about a kohen doctor? I think it's a terrible idea, unless I'm sure there are some kohanim that are doctors, but major issues, because first of all, you have they work on body parts. The medical students, that's cadavers. That's what I meant, cadavers. So that's problem number one. Problem number two, you have Jewish patients. So then he goes in America, in Chutz La'aretz, Roiv are not Jews. It depends if you're Manhattan, not Manhattan. Some of the amount of people in Sloan Kettering, the amount of frum people that I saw in Sloan Kettering is mind-boggling. But because frum people, get the second opinion, the third opinion, they go to the top of the top, they travel from all over the world. But the amount of cancer in Sloan Kettering from frum people is loyal lenu. I think they're like, whatever. I'm not going to go into Roy and not Roy, but there's a huge amount of frum people there. So you have to know the hospital, you have to know this, and he goes into the whole, he says, mamish also for a kohen to be a doctor in a hospital that won't allow him to leave when there's a mace. If you're in a place that you can leave, yeah. And then there's other achronim that talk about you can't really use a chazaka when you can find out. If you could make a phone call and find out, hey, so some places you can't even find out. They don't know. They won't tell you, yeah, it's a Jewish dead person here, not a Jewish dead. Okay, so kids are, if a person is a kohen, you should just know there's a lot about the sugya that has to do with him and going into hospitals with Roiv, not Roiv. I think a lot of hospitals here in Eretz Yisrael, they tell you there's a sign on the front of a kohen could go in, not go in. Huh? Till here, till not here, different wards, etc. Okay. Omar Avuna, Bereder Rav Yeshua, Kemanazlo Hos Shmaitzo the Rabbo. This Rabbo who says we take what we have today, the guy's dead and we go backwards, not take a situation that we knew a year ago that he owned this field and we go forwards. Kirv Nasan. This goes like Kirv Nasan, the Sanya. This question that we have, Mi Moitzi Miyad Mi, like our Mishnah, that we don't have a document that says that this person died from this disease. You're supposed to write in a shchimra after he passes away, you say, and he in fact died from this machla and he didn't retract, etc. It says, Hu Moitzi Miyadein B'Leiraya, the guy in the shchimra has a chazaka, so it stays by him, so you can take it out without a raya, v'hein, and the receiver, Ei Moitzi Miyadei, and they cannot take it out. Ela b'raya divri Rabbi Yaakov. Rabbi Yaakov says we take a previous situation and we move forward with it. Rabbi Nasan Oimer, and this is like Rabbah, in Barihu, Alav la b'raya shoyish chimera. We look at him right now today, and we go backwards from today. So today he's healthy. You proved that once upon a time you're shchimera. Right now we know you're healthy, so we go back and we say you're always healthy. But if he's a shchimera now, we go backwards and we say he was always a shchimera. Omer Belazar. This is a gewaltige sugya, and there's only 5 lines here. Kimachloikes, ulatuma kimachloikes. The same achloikes we have by tuma. This nan bike b'meisachama rushusayachad l'shabbos ushusarabim l'tuma. Very, very pashut. Here we go. As we go along, we'll explain. This is a bika. A bika means an open field. Says the Rishbam, we're talking about that it's enclosed. It's enclosed, but people like to walk through it. They walk right through it. But they only walk through it when there's nothing growing there. They don't want to ruin the other person's crop. So they walk through it in the summer. In the winter, they don't walk through it. So, let me just show you that on top, there's a Rosh Hashanah. It should be there the entire time. If this enclosure is a Rosh Hashanah, then if you carry something from Rosh Hashanah into Rosh Hashanah on Shabbos, here, take a look. The guy is going from Rosh Hashanah into Rosh Hashanah. Now, let me ask you a question. It's not so to get to the sugya, but if this enclosure is Rosh Hashanah, could I take a parat chont and go from one end to the other end? It's Rosh Hashanah. The answer is no, because this is a very large area, and there's something called a karfaf. Even though it's enclosed, it's a karfaf, and Chachamim said it's also to carry within the karfaf Daled Amos. But in terms of the Isser of carrying from a Shus Rabbim to Shus Yachid, it is considered Shus Yachid. Okay, now check this out. Look at this. There's a bone fell over here. A bone of a mace fell. And now somebody walked in there, and he doesn't know if he walked on the bone or not. The bone is matama. He doesn't know. So what do we do, Rabbi Isai? If somebody becomes tameh from a suffix, he is suffix tameh. He doesn't know if he touched the bone or not. What do we do? Oh, So it makes a difference if it's a Rishus HaYachid or Rishus HaRabim, because we have a concept in Shas, Sofek Tumah B'Rishus HaRabim Tahar. If we from Saita, very good. If we consider this area a Rishus HaRabim, then the guy's tar. If we consider this area a Rishus HaYachid, that he's tamei. Let me just show you. I know it's late. I just want to show you. Where do we know this from? From a Saita. Because the Saita, I'll show you this real quickly. It's kedai to see it once in a while. Take a look at this video here. This tells you the halachas of a Saita in one shot. This Kidnovations LLC, the Edom have to say, don't seclude yourself with a stranger. She goes, she doesn't listen. So once they see that, they have to take her to a bezdin. They take her to a bezdin. We go weiter. Then they take her to the Beis Hamikdash, and they have to uncover her hair. Even if her hair is covered, they uncover her hair. They have to give her different clothing, black clothing, and now they have to bring her to Shining Corner. Even though it's close to where she is, she has to walk all the way to the front, then go to Shining Corner. Then they go in, and that's Shining Corner. They have to read a parsha in the Torah, and this is the parsha. They have to take all this entire parsha, put it into water, and it gets erased in the water. Where do they get the water from? From the kiyar. In addition to the water, they have to grab some dirt from inside the heichal. They open up one of the tiles, and they grab some dirt, and they pour that dirt into the water, that mixture. Now they put the words, the parsha in there. It gets erased inside the water, and now they make a mincha. Make a mincha, and this shows you even how to put it in klisharis. He does a kmitza. Goes like that. That's a kmitza. Puts it in another kli. That kli, you have to do what we do. We learn lula from this. You have to go back and forth the whole thing. Whether you start Ashkenaz, I don't know how they did the halacha. Then they take that mincha and they have to touch it to the corner, the southwest corner of the mizbeach. I don't know southwest. So remember, I used the Southwest airline for that. Yeah, Southwest. And now she has to drink the water, and if she's tamei, she's going to explode. So the kohen starts seeing that she's changing, and she says, "Get her out of here! I don't want tumah," and she explodes. Now, one last thing is that even the guy, the noyef, he also explodes. Okay, so from here we see that her tumah happened in a Rishus HaYachid. Since it happened in Rishus HaYachid, Sofek Tumah, we don't know. Nobody witnessed exactly what happened in that Rishus HaYachid with the Saita, yet she becomes Tameh. So when there's a Sofek Tumah in Rishus HaYachid, we learn from here, in Tumah, in touching a dead person, is Tameh, but in Rishus HaRabim is Tahar. So let's go back to our sugya. Therefore,
It was worth coming to see that video.
Thank you. Okay, Givaldi. It's kedai for everybody. I know that a lot of us saw it many times. It's kedai to see it again once in a while. So, this is just a warning, like the city plants stuff here in the circles. It's not a good idea to walk through it and ruin it. People, that's b'meisak shamim. You don't walk on other people's stuff. Since nobody walks in this area, let me see where, hold on. I know that we have to go here. In this area, you see, look at this. It's growing. So Mamela, it becomes a real Rishus HaYachid in the winter. And Mamela, it's Rishus HaYachid whether it's for Tumah or for Shabbos. Amar Rava, and one last thing. Oh, so here's the question. If you don't know when you walked in, a lot of times you don't know when was the siyum for Masechta Saita? You don't know if it's in the summer or the winter. Bava Basra, Bava Kama. You don't know. So somebody said, they found a grave in this little area over there. He goes, "Oi, when did I walk there? I know I walked there. I don't remember if it was in the summer or the winter." Big nafkamina. One was Rishus HaRabim, one was Rishus HaYachid. It was Rishus HaRabim I'm tar, Rishus HaYachid I'm tamei. I don't know. So it makes an nafkamina in this machlokes right over here. According to Rav Nosson, you were tahar before. So Mamela, I just continue from before, I go backwards. But if I look at today it's a Rishus HaYachid, so I go backwards and I say you were tamei. So according to Rav Nosson's a fakert, it depends when I ask the question. If I ask the question in the summer, you're tar. Now it's a Rishus HaRabim. According to Rabbi Yaakov, since you go backwards from when it was and you were tar before, so you're tar now also. Rava says a very simple thing. Once this area has a name of Rishus HaYachid, it remains Rishus HaYachid forever, even though there's another season. The only time we can consider Rishus HaRam if it's the very, very first time it was Rishus HaRam. It remains Rishus HaYachid forever. Rabbi Sai, have a wonderful day. Wow, that's late.